Pokemon?
Oh, it's always gonna be Jigglypuff.
Always
Because
I just caught
I
a
too.
Jigglypuff yesterday on Pokemon Go.
You did?
I did. They're pretty nice.
Yeah. Yeah, that's my favorite because she's big, she's round, she's got an attitude, she likes to sing at people, and there are natural consequences to not paying attention to her. And I can't relate to a better Pokemon.
Nice.
Oh, yeah. Hi, y'all. We were talking about Pokemon because we're in our onesies today. And as you can see, our guest, Sarah, is a nerd, right? Anyway, if y'all are here, it's because you are joining us for the 910 Variety Hour, a weekly live show, sometimes pre-recorded, but generally live, where me and Christian, or a bunch of student leaders, talk to and do cool things with other people on campus. Now, this week, we're talking with Sarah Parker, the 910 housing coordinator, about housing, because housing. But before we even get into that, before we even talk about it, we have to talk about our sponsor first. So, Christian, get Sarah out of here.
Bye-bye.
Go away, Sarah. And can you bring up the what is it, the campus housing office webpage? Perfect, beautiful. Okay, bring Sarah back. Hey, Sarah.
Back.
So Sarah's actually invited this sponsor onto the show, the unofficial official sponsor of the show. So Sarah, tell us a bit about it.
Yeah, so this episode is being unofficially sponsored officially by the Campus Housing Office, or housing at ucsc.edu. This is a website all about housing. Housing on campus is partially decentralized. So there's the 910 Housing Office, and then there's the Campus Housing Office. Here on the Campus Housing Office website, again, housing.ucsc.edu, is where you're going to find a lot of information. So under rates, contracts, and publications, there's a whole page about housing priority. Let's go give that a quick click. Here's all the information this year about housing priority. We're going to go over this more later, don't worry. So that's one thing you can find here. It's also, this web page is where you are going to find your housing contract, like a hard copy of it. So we go under rates, contracts, and publications one more time, Christian. All the way at the bottom, it should say housing contracts, as you believe. It's very small on my screen. Nope, that's housing consolidation. Let me pin this chat. There we go. Yeah, so most students who are applying to housing right now are applying for undergraduate housing. So if you wanted to see your housing contract, you'd click that one that's stating undergraduate housing. And then finally, one of my favorite buttons is the I am ... button way at the top, where you can select who you are. So for today, we're going to select that we're an undergraduate student. We're going to click that we're a continuing student, and it's going to bring us to studenthousing.ucsc.edu, where we can apply for housing.
So like you can go to this webpage and it'll guide you all the way through to what you need to do to apply.
Yes.
Nice.
Ta-da! And then you'll log in, you'll put in your UCSC ID and I believe your gold password, and that'll get you into the housing website. Unfortunately, we can't do it because we're not students.
Oh yeah, we've graduated, now have to deal with capitalism on a whole new level. Yeah. Anyway, thank you, Sarah, for showing off our sponsors. For those who don't know who I am, I'm Jess. I'm your local ACPC over at College Design Intent. If you watch any of these episodes before, you already know who I am, right? And if you've watched at least one of these episodes before, you already know who Sarah Harker is. Earlier this quarter, she talked to us a bit more about housing and talked to us about different resources that we could access for housing. But she is back. And Sarah, why are you back so soon?
Yeah, so this week is the Priority Housing Application Period, otherwise known as PHAP. So I call it PHAP, that's what I'm referring to. This is a week-long section of time where students will apply to housing and do it for next academic year. So that's going to be the 2021 to 2022 academic year for housing on campus.
Very nice. Okay, let's go ahead and get into things then. They already know you, they already know me. Why should we talk to you specifically about this?
So I'm your housing coordinator for all the colleges that attend housing students, and I'm the person who's going to help facilitate getting you correctly assigned into spaces. I'm also the person who will help you answer a lot of questions. And if you're on the wait list, I'm the person who will be going through your application and assigning you to a housing spot.
So you're the person with all the power around housing on campus at 9 and 10. At 9 and 10.
At 9 and 10, there are some decisions that I unfortunately do not have power over, but I am the person who will help you get into a spot, figure out your housemates and your roommates, and, offer you housing if you're on the wait list.
So when people are like emailing housing office about housing other things, they should picture you in this Charmander onesie with the rainbow glasses, just being like, I understand. When they call because they're having some issues with housing, they should picture you in the Charmander onesie with the rainbow glasses. Like, I understand. Okay, great.
I'm a mature adult. Yes. You may also want to imagine my cat, because at least I've had one student call recently who had to listen to me ask my cat to please stop biting me because he really wanted dinner and he had to wait 20 minutes for dinner. So please imagine a very fat brown tabby cat. As well, if you hear me talking to someone named Connor.
My cat has a human name. The hardship of his life is just not being fed all the time.
Yeah.
And with that in mind, why are we wearing onesies, Sarah? Because this was your idea.
Well, part of it is I just got this onesie like 3 days ago. The other part of it is that housing is stressful and we want to make you feel at home by wearing onesies. So we're here in our onesies to make the very stressful housing application period just a little bit less stressful.
Yep, onesies. That's the thing. Okay, do you want to get right into it?
Yes, let's get right into it.
All right, so we came with some pre-set up questions for two reasons. One, I am working with a lot of our crush and our college guides, and they have a lot of questions, a lot of very fair questions. And two, Sarah, because you're the housing coordinator, you're already getting a lot of questions.
Absolutely.
So I was like, a first one, just to kind of like season the conversation first, a really basic one, which is, when is the application period?
The priority housing application period is May 17th, so yesterday as of time of recording / streaming, to 11:59 p.m. on May 24th.
Okay, and priority housing, what does that mean in this context?
The priority housing application period is, priority housing in this regard is people that we are first going to offer housing to, and this is how you indicate that you want housing and you want to be considered first. If you apply after the housing application period, you get put on a wait list.
And who's currently applying to housing right now? Like, who's able to?
Right now, the only people who are able to apply to housing are all continuing students. Anyone who is interested in housing who is a continuing student is able to apply. If you're a freshman, an incoming freshman, gotta wait. Then you'll do it later.
So people who are already like taking classes right now.
Yeah, everyone is already taking classes.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. So talking about like who can apply right now and priority housing stuff. How do you know if you're in a priority housing group? So I asked this because like I'm getting mixed messages, and I know my students are, which is we're seeing like there are certain groups that are getting like priority for housing. So we're thinking like students who are Renaissance scholars, students who need DRC accommodations. Like there are these groups that I've seen on like web pages that are like, yes, you are prioritized for housing, right? But I'm also hearing that no one has like guaranteed housing anymore. And I'm like, wait, what does that mean? Does this group still get it? And then I'm also hearing that like if you do like A, B, or C, like if you have a full 6-person group to sign up together, then you have priority housing. And I'm confused. I know people are confused. Can you clarify things?
Yeah. So having housing priority means you fall into a certain subset of students here on campus. A lot of campus partners came together and decided that these are the students with the highest need of having housing on campus. So these include students who are currently living with us for extreme need. So if you're a current resident living on campus because you had a need to be on campus, you are prioritized for housing. You have a housing priority. This is also for our Renaissance scholars, international students in their first, second, and third years, our veterans, our EOP students. Earlier, I showed a page which had a full list of these students. And basically, if you fall into one of those things, you have housing priority. So that's the beginning of it.
Okay.
When people are talking about doing A, B, or C, or having a full apartment group, that's something else.
Okay. So if you're part of those first groups, like we're going to prioritize you for housing because you need housing. That's not to say other people outside of those groups don't need housing, but we've seen these groups have a higher need historically, and we predict they're going to have a higher need this fall as well. Is that right?
Yes, there's a historic need. There's also a historic struggle with some of these students getting off-campus housing. Yeah.
Now, with the priority priority housing application period, is that just for students in those priority groups, or can everybody apply during this time?
Everybody should apply during this time. Right now, if you apply during this week, even if you don't have housing priority, you will be put on a priority waiting list. So this means if you apply before 11:59 p.m. on May 24th, you will be put on a list of students who we know really want to be on campus. Whether or not you have a priority, you'll be put on a priority list. If you apply at 12:01 a.m. on May 25th, you're going to go on a general waiting list that is going to be housed after we have exhausted this priority waiting list.
Okay. So it's not like only the priority groups can apply. Anybody can apply right now, and you should apply. You should apply if you want to, if you even think you want to be on campus.
Absolutely. If you want housing and you're a continuing student, again, incoming frosh, gotta wait. I know y'all are excited about coming to campus, but it's just for continuing folks. If you're a continuing student who wants housing on campus, apply.
Do it. The end. Okay. Now let's go to these ABC groups. So I know historically, like in the past, before the Panera Bread, the pandemic, this whole calendar year, right? If you were like applying to an apartment on campus and you had like a full group, so like let's say 6 people can fit into the apartment, and you had a full group coming together and applying to housing together, you were a priority group. But also if you were a student leader, you were a priority individual. So if you had like a group of student leaders, like extra priority on the housing. And then like if you were a 910 student applying to 910 housing, you were treated with priority as well. I get the sense that that's changed. What's changed?
And I want to make a quick clarification. College 9 and College 10 are two separate colleges, and they are two separate housing areas. So either you are applying for College 9 housing or you're applying to College 10 housing. This is very important when it comes to roommates, because if one of you applies to College 9, one applies to College 10, you won't be able to add each other. I digress. In previous years, we had this very long system with priority points that would let students with full apartment groups get to assign themselves to housing earlier. This year, we're doing away with all of that. We're doing a lottery system, so as long as you apply for housing and complete it by 11:59 p.m. on May 24th, you will have a randomized chance of getting into housing. Now, if you're part of a roommate group, this means when you're going in to select your housing, you're going to be assigned a random time. I like using this as a brunch analogy. If you've got a group of 5 of you who all want to go to brunch together, and there's one real MVP who shows up 2 hours early, they can get a table for all 5 of you, right? If you're in a group of 5 people and one person has an early time slot, that person is able to go in and assign all 5 of you to a space. So if I have a Monday morning appointment and my proposed housemate, Connor, who's my cat over there on not being part of the show, has a Friday appointment slot, I can assign him while I'm doing my own housing.
Okay, cool. Well, how do you know what time you're supposed to apply?
You will get an email and some login information later on. I haven't been given an exact timeline because we're still figuring out some timelines, because we don't want to have students needing to do this during finals week. But students will be sent an email from housing saying, hey, this is your time where you should log in and select housing. And it's very important you meet that appointment time, because if you miss it, you may lose your chance to have housing on campus.
Dang. Okay, so first you got to apply for housing in the fall. And then once there's a chance of a slot, you're going to get an email from housing saying like, hey, this is when you need to decide on your housing. If you're part of a group and you're like the early bird special is what I will say, the person who is just lucked out with an early slot, right? Mm-hmm. First off, you're a hero and we love you. Your group should also think you're a hero and buy you chicken nuggets, or like, I don't know, gluten-free vegan chicken nuggets, whatever you're into, because you just pretty much solidified a place for them. But if you miss your slot, if you're part of a group, maybe they'll let you in. But if you're individual, it can be hard.
It can be
hard. So don't miss your slot. Check your emails.
Check your emails, check your spam filter, make sure to whitelist housing at ucsc.edu. Yes. One more thing before we get too far. You will be able to select your roommates after the priority housing application period. And so long as you both applied for the same community, so you have either all applied for College 9 or all applied for College 10, you should be good.
But if half of you applied for College 9 and half of you applied to College 10,
you will be able to find the other people who applied to the same community as you and not the people who didn't apply.
So make sure that communication between your groups is strong. Like double check everything, triple check everything, because it would suck if you missed out on housing with the people that you actually want to live with because of one missed text, right?
Yeah. And if you've already submitted your housing application and you realize that you have replied to the wrong community, so long as you get cancel that housing application and get a new one in by 11:59 p.m. on March 24th, you will be able to select your the correct community, and will not affect your priority.
Nice.
I should also, yes. Yeah.
Okay, so what that means is, like, let's say I started out being like, you know what, Stevenson looks cool. I like being so close to the gym. Love that, like, beautiful sea view. The dining hall's okay. No offense to that dining hall, but 910 has the best dining hall. We're not gonna lie here, right? But then you're like, but Rachel Carson Oaks, man, Oaks is so quiet, it's so nice, it's very chill. There's a lot of like community there. So you ditch Stevenson, you go back, you cancel that application, and then you reapply over to like Oaks.
Yeah.
And it won't affect your waitlist. It won't affect your waitlist position.
It won't affect your priority status. For your waitlist position if you are someone who's going to be waitlisted. But again, you gotta do it by I'm just misspeaking, May 24th at 11:59 p.m. Because if you cancel it on the 25th and try to reapply, you will have foregone your priority status or your position on the priority waitlist.
Okay, so what I'm hearing first is apply, do it on time, and communicate. Check your emails. So if you get nothing else out of this video, those are the 4 things: apply, check your emails, communicate. I forgot the 4th thing.
Do it on time.
Do it on time. Okay, put on all the Google invites, all the Google reminders, all of those things, right? Mm-hmm. So let's say you're part of a group, right, that's applying together, and it turns out you actually don't like that group anymore. What do you do? Like, let's say, I don't know, you were going to move in with your girlfriend, but you all broke up because you just could not agree on like whether the recent season of The Witcher was good enough. And it's just...
Is there a new season?
No, but I'm excited for it.
Wow, I'm so let down, Jess. How could you do this to me?
I mean, Star Wars just released The Bad Batch, and I'm super into that. But I mean, I'd strongly advise watching it personally. Just saying. But so let's say, there's a big breakup in your friend group that did apply for housing. What do you do?
So if you haven't been assigned to housing, you can change your roommate groups. More information on how to set up roommate groups and how to unselect roommate groups will go out after the priority housing application period. We're already bombarding you with information one step at a time. But you would be able to remove yourself from that group. If you have been assigned to housing, it gets a little bit more complicated. You'd have to reach out to me through the 9 Housing 10 web email, and you'd be able to describe your situation. And I would say, I'll do my best. And as a space became available that may work for you, I might be able to change your housing assignment.
All right, with that in mind, can College 10 students only apply for College 10 housing and vice versa? Like, if I was College 10, but I honestly, if I had lived on campus, transfer student, right? So I didn't want to live on campus, so I didn't. Sweet. I probably wouldn't have wanted to live at College 10. I probably would have tried living over at like Stevenson because I really liked going to the gym, like a lot. Do I have to go to College 10?
No. This is actually probably one of the best years to try living in a different community because there is the lottery system. You can apply to live anywhere. And it should also be mentioned that we have some communities that you can live at that are not associated with a college. We have the University Town Center that anyone can apply to. We also have the trailer park, which anyone can apply to, which is not college specific.
Okay. How do I learn about these other types of housing areas? Because like all I know about is the dorms.
So I released a whole video of me talking about the different housing options. It's on both the College 9 and the College 10 websites. They're basically identical web pages. But if you look under residential life and click fall 2021, I have a presentation where I talk through all the different options. You can also look on the housing website. They do have some information on there about it.
Okay, cool. All right. Okay. Big scary brain moment. What if I miss the waitlist date? What if I totally blank, or like a midterm came up, or I got hit by a clown car and now I'm both a clown and severely injured and I just completely missed that priority housing application date? What happens?
So still apply to housing. Unfortunately, you will not be on the priority waiting list, nor will you be able to keep your priority status. But you will still be on the wait list. There's this notion that the wait list is a finite number of people. The wait list is as long as it needs to be. There is no number on the wait list either. The wait list is assigned based off how well of a match you are. So the more flexible with what kind of housing you will accept, the more likely you are to get housing on campus. So if Connor and I both miss the deadline, and I say I will only accept an apartment single, I will accept nothing else, and Connor is like, I will accept anything, I would prefer an apartment single, but if you have an apartment triple that I have, I will take it. He is more likely to get off the wait list, because when the housing coordinator, I'm going to say that I'm the housing coordinator, because when the housing coordinator goes through, they will see, cool, this student will accept an residence hall triple, and I can then assign them to that space. If a student only has 1 or 2 selections and I can't meet that, I'm going to assign the students who have asked for this housing first. So if all you've said is that you will accept as a residence hall single and all I have are triples, I'm going to pass your application to go to the next person on the priority wait list who will take a triple. And once there's no more of that, I may then reach out to you saying, hey, you only wanted a single, but all I have is a triple. Do you want this? At which point you will have 24 hours, 1 day, to respond and let me know yes or no. And if you don't respond or you say no, you will forfeit your position on the priority wait list and go just to the general wait list.
So it's really important that you all are we're checking our emails like every day.
Yes.
Once it gets past the priority wait list time, like every day checking that email. I know that's stressful, and probably a bit anxiety provoking, kind of waiting for it. But it's the best option for getting you housing, and it's the best option for us to get housing to people who need it.
Mm-hmm.
Not to say that you don't, because if you're applying, you do. But it's just the nature of the game this year, sadly.
Yeah, we have reduced capacity, and every year we don't have enough housing for the amount of people who want to live on campus. Unfortunately, this is not a new phenomenon. It's just now we have the added spicy cocktail of COVID-19.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, we do.
I mean, it's more important that the people who are living on campus can do so like safely, but it does definitely suck. It definitely sucks. Okay, so let's say I apply to priority housing. I get into the application period. Should I still look for like housing off campus? Like, I have a class. I'm currently like in Georgia or LA. I have to be in like an in-person section. Should I also be looking for off-campus housing to make sure that I can actually like get to campus if I need to?
Yes, you should definitely be looking for off-campus housing. There we have a whole office and website about off-campus housing where you can make roommate matches. You can see what's listed. Everything on that website is actually vetted to the campus, which is super cool. So if I moved into a space as a student and the landlord was just awful, I could be like, hey, this landlord was awful. And the university would remove that. Super cool resource. You don't get that on Reddit or Facebook or Craigslist. So still look for off-campus housing. However, very important, we're gonna put on the important mustache. If you get off-campus housing, you must cancel your application. Because if I assign you to housing and you have off-campus housing confirmed, and then you cancel your housing, you will be charged a cancellation fee.
How much is the cancellation fee?
That depends on when you cancel. So cancellation fees sound pretty scary. Let's get off with the easiest one. If you're just on the wait list and you haven't been assigned to housing and you cancel your application, you pay $0. Zero. Let me pull up the dates to be very precise, because the dates, I don't have them memorized and I don't want to give you all bad information. Boop-a-doo-boop-a-doo-doo. It's a lovely day in the neighborhood. Come on, I am having trouble getting to the website I want to go, so we're gonna just go do my history. Sorry, folks, I should have anticipated needing to do this.
It happens. Anyway, it gives us some lovely time to just like settle and be still and think about how badly I really want to eat like dinner right now. Taco Bell sounds great. Pho sounds great right now.
Doesn't it? That sounds really good.
It's like hot weather here, and pho just feels right.
Okay, so cancellation fees. We got it. So if you cancel on or before July 1st, the cancellation fee for a confirmed housing space is $150. If you cancel between July 2nd through August 1st, it's a $250 cancellation fee. If you cancel after August 1st, it is a $350 cancellation fee. So, again, those dates are available online, so you don't have to write this down.
Okay.
But it's only if you have a confirmed spot on campus. There is no fee for removing your application off the wait list.
Okay. So once I'm confirmed to have housing, if I'm just like, I don't need to worry about that, I have off-campus housing, then I have to pay a fee. But if I don't have confirmed housing, I'm just on the wait list, I'm just chilling, hoping for the best, and then I don't know, my friends are like, hey, we got an apartment and we have a spare room. Do you want to rent with us? Mm-hmm. And I cancel then, nothing. I have to give away none of my funds.
Yes. As long as you cancel your housing before you confirm to a space, no worries, no money will be charged. Your application is, for us, is continued interest on living in campus housing. And I'm great. I'm a really good housing coordinator. Unfortunately, I'm not psychic and I won't automatically know that you've gotten off-campus housing. So please let me know by canceling your housing application once you have confirmed your housing, off-campus housing.
Yeah. Okay, let's ask some more questions, my dude. All right, so we talked about cancellation fees. We've talked about waitlist work. So I'm going to give you some nuanced questions, some like big brain questions. You ready? Okay. One of the questions I've gotten is a student who needs to take certain classes this year, as many of our students do. The lecture itself is not in person, it's virtual, right? So they assumed like they didn't need to be on campus. And then they just learned that the sections are in fact in person. Because of this need to be on campus because of academics, do they A, get any priority for housing? And B, should they like still apply for on-campus housing, even if they're not sure if they're gonna have to be on campus? So it's a bit muddly.
It's a bit muddly, and we haven't been given guidance. Unfortunately, I'm not an academics person, so I don't know what to do when it comes to in-person sections. I was under the impression that everything was supposed to have a virtual option for fall quarter, but if you have been told you must be on campus, put in your housing application and look for off-campus housing. Unfortunately, we can't grant housing priority for students. Like just in general, either you have priority right now or you don't. So put in your application, meet all the deadlines that will increase your chances of housing, of being able to get on campus, and look for off-campus housing. Also, reach out to your TA about why it's in person if there's a virtual thing, because I won't know the answer, but your TA, whenever you get told who the TA is, will hopefully have that information for you of how to participate virtually.
Mhm. And also feel free to reach out to advising. It's a severely underused resource on our campus, but for things like this, they can also offer some really good advice. One of the things that I hear a lot from advising is students thinking that they have to take a certain class at a certain quarter. And it's not to say that you don't, you probably do if you think you do, but there are actually a lot of different ways that we can like achieve our major requirements or our course requirements that may help you be more flexible about whether you need to be on campus or not. So check in with advising, ask about interesting ways that you can get your needs met that work better for you. Okay, coming up with that, let's say I am so sure that I have off-campus housing that I don't apply. And then in fall, my apartment that I rented, like a tree falls on it.
Mm-hmm.
What do I do?
So step one is you're going to reach out actually to something called slug support here on campus, and you're going to say, hey, a tree fell on my current living situation, and they will be able to get you temporary housing off campus. Awesome. This is like at a hotel. And then you will put in a housing application later. That doesn't mean we're going to have housing available, but it will mean that we know that you want housing or need housing. And we will do our best to get you on campus housing. But again, the reality is that we are not at maximum capacity, and we have a lot of interest to be on campus. But if your housing situation suddenly gets jeopardized, the first people you want to reach out to is going to be slug support, your advisor, and then maybe us. Like that's a 3-hit. Like you email slug support, your advisor, and 9 housing 10 in the same email and go, yo, a tree just fell on my house. You've basically got all your bases covered.
Do not be afraid to triage across campuses to meet your need, across departments to meet your needs.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
It allows us to know that you've reached out to slug support, so we don't go, hey, have you reached out to slug support?
Saves you a lot of time too.
Yeah.
Okay, here's a big one that I'm seeing, especially from our current freshmen.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know any other students. How do I meet other students so that we can make a group to apply for housing together?
So there's a couple ways. There is on the placesforstudents.com, which is the website that the off-campus folks, the off-campus office uses. There's a way to post your roommate profile and potentially meet other people. It's primarily meant for off-campus stuff, but you can use it if you're looking for a roommate because that's what it's there for. Additionally, when you are putting in your housing application, there's a section where you get to say, what you're interested in, what kind of housing living situation you're interested in. Are you someone who goes to bed before or after 2 a.m.? These are some very basic questions. And after the priority housing application period, you will be able to go in and either select someone you know. So I'm going to go in and select Connor because I know him. But I'd also be able to see a list of students of the algorithm, not a ton of information. I'll be like, Connor H. And it will say, we're a 99% match. And I can then message Connor H and be like, hello, Connor H. Do you like cats? Very important question to me. What's your favorite Pokemon? And you'll be able to message back and forth a little bit and see if you all will be an actual good roommate match.
Very nice. Other places that you could also meet people. So activities department is hosting the first year Discord channel. So you all got an invitation for this at the beginning of the year, unless you're a transfer, and then you got one in winter quarter, because we want to make sure we got everyone in. You can definitely use our housing channel on that Discord page to meet and talk with other first years and get to know some people. Is Connor being an interesting cat?
Connor almost stepped on something he shouldn't step on.
Connor, no.
I'm about to hang up a wall picture, and so it's on my bed, and he stepped on the picture.
How could
you're a big boy.
Connor's not the best roommate, but he tries.
The star of the hour.
So go on the Discord channel, go talk to other people. There's also a bunch of other Discord channels that have popped up over the year. I know we have an LGBTQ plus student only Discord channel. So if you're looking for students with, similar just amazingness, check out that. Also check out some of the resource centers and their spaces and events and programs, and check out your colleges or other colleges' events and programs. These are not like as great as in-person stuff for meeting people, but they're really great ways to get to know some new people and get connected. Nonetheless, even if you have nobody right now that you can think of for living in, apply anyway. Partly because if your application is really thorough and really honest, do not say you're a morning person. If you, like me, regularly do not go to sleep until midnight, don't. The process can actually link you up with some really cool and interesting people. So don't be afraid to both be really honest with your application and your needs as a person, or go to some virtual events and programs and get connected with some new people. All you have to do is start asking questions.
Yeah. And the thing that I think students don't always know is that when it comes to assigning people who are kind of on the wait list, weren't able to request roommates, I actually go through every application and compare you to other people to see how well you might match. So it's not that I'm just like, okay, we're going to go alphabetically down the list. It's actually, I look at a bunch of applications, I go, well, Connor and Jess might be a good match. Let's see how they compare. Are you going to go, Connor? He refuses to apply to housing. Okay, off you go, buddy.
Well, actually, I have an issue with that, though, because I'm allergic to cats.
Yeah. See, that might be a thing where I noticed that, y'all both aren't morning people. You have a similar level of liking to scream, whether that's a lot of screaming or not a lot of screaming. But there's a thing that you're just like, absolutely not. But this year, because we switched to a new housing system, there is less room for detail, but there is computer help in terms of matching up people, which is super cool. So I don't have to sit down and be like, okay, who all does not go to bed until 2 a.m. Do a bunch of spreadsheets. But I do go through every single application.
So you're pretty much like the matchmaker of housing at 9 and 10.
Yes. More or less.
Okay, so let's say someone has a support animal that they need. Are they still going to be able? Are they going to be able to bring that animal on campus? Are they going to be able to include that in their application?
Okay, so it's not something that you indicate on your application. Having an emotional support or a service animal on campus is not done through our office. That sounds kind of weird, but it actually starts with the Disability Resource Center. If you look up Disability Resource Center, UCSC, housing accommodation, that is how you're going to be able to get housing accommodations, including service and support animals. So you do that, you fill in your information, you meet with the DRC coordinator, the Disability Resource Coordinator, and they will tell us, hey, this student needs to have an emotional support cat. We're not going to tell you why, because it's none of my business why you need to support cat. I just need to know that the cat's approved. We're going to go through a form together, which says, hey, don't let your cat cheat on tests. And if your cat bites all your furniture, you're going to have to pay for the furniture that the cat bit. And then you'll be able to bring your animal onto campus. I highly recommend, if you need housing accommodations, do it now. Apply for housing first, and then put in your request for a housing accommodation. And if in the past you have had a housing accommodation, make sure you have re-upped that so that I get your housing accommodation again for this year.
Okay. So I'm gonna kind of wrap up our Q&A section before we show off some of the web pages with two last big brain questions.
Big brain.
So I know for myself and for a lot of our students, housing is a very scary process. For some of our students, anxiety is an experience that they have, and that can prevent them from applying. Or for some of our students who haven't had access to stable housing, like thinking about applying to housing or thinking about housing is big anxiety or big stress, or can even be like re-traumatizing. And especially after this year with the pandemic, a lot of people have experienced like housing instability or even like home loss, and potentially even becoming a person who is unhomed. Any tips for just dealing with that housing anxiety?
One, you're not alone. It may feel a little crass to say just rip off the band-aid and apply, but try your best to get it in, because the sooner you get it done, not as long as you get it done by the deadline. It's not that someone who applied yesterday has more priority than someone who applies today, but as long as you meet the deadline, you have a greater chance. You're helping yourself by getting this done on time. And also, if you're currently experiencing this housing anxiety, whether it be application super overwhelming, or you're currently experiencing housing instability, reach out to us. I'm more than willing to help talk you through the application process. As someone who's dealt with housing insecurity in like my past, I get it. And I mean it when I say that I get it. I was reliant on campus housing all of my 4 years because I couldn't get a co-signer. I had an emotional support cat, and I just wasn't a very good renter candidate. And I'd experienced housing insecurity in the past. Also reach out to, just in general, reach out to people. We have our CAPS office, which is Counseling and Psychological Services. We have just in general, 9 Housing 10 is going to help. Talk to your advisors. The subtitle says, "My husband is going to help." Amazing. My husband is not going to.
Nice.
I don't have a husband, but he's going to help. It's great. Go, Bobbert McHusband face.
Go, Bobbert McHusband face.
Yeah, what a great man. So lucky to not be married to him. Yeah, it's really scary to not know if you're going to get housing, but meeting the deadlines is going to make it a lot easier for you to get housing. If you need help, reach out.
Mm-hmm. Last big brain question. And this is something that I heard a lot last year, and I'm hearing a lot again with applications. There is, if I apply, am I taking a spot from someone who needs it more? I hear that a lot from our very thoughtful students. And I hear that a lot from students, from my perspective, that need housing. They get a higher need than I think a lot of our students have. So what do I do if I feel like if I apply, I'm taking a slot from someone that needs it more?
Gosh, that's a good question. I think if you feel like you need housing in any way, shape, or form, even if it's just what feels small, you've lived through this before. You know how to manage your unstable household, even though it's unstable. You've survived. You don't have to survive. You can apply to campus housing and hopefully you'll get in. You're not stealing a spot from someone who needs it more. If you have a need, you have a need. It doesn't matter why someone needs subtitles in a movie. You're going to use the subtitles whether it's you're hard of hearing or English is your second language, or flat out you don't speak the language in the movie, or you're like me who just likes seeing words go by because it means if I don't comprehend something, I don't have to ask people like, wait, can we rewind? They talk kind of quickly. If you have a need, you have a need. If someone is in a crisis and needs housing, hopefully they're going to reach out to Slug Support, and Slug Support will be able to help them. And if you have a need and you apply and get into on-campus housing, awesome. And also, to reiterate, if you're currently experiencing housing insecurity, please contact us. Contact Slug Support, contact 9 Housing 10. We will do our best. Yes, we're on week 8 of the quarter. But if you have a need, you have a need. There is summer housing available as well. So,
So just to end this and reiterate, one line that I love is, if you're surviving right now, you don't have to keep surviving. You could thrive.
yeah, you could thrive here on campus.
Yeah. Okay, with that in mind, we've got like 12 more minutes, 12 minutes?
Yeah.
I think we were probably only like 5 minutes for like coming up and closing. So I know there's some things you wanted to show us, and I'm not on the YouTube, so I don't know if people are asking questions in the chat. But can you go ahead and show us some things?
Absolutely. Christian, do you mind pulling up the first document, the first webpage?
Beautiful art.
This is the priority housing application webpage. The URL is housing.ucsc/priority. You can also get to it if you go to the housing.ucsc website. And this is everything about the priority housing application period. If you click apply now, it will take you to the housing webpage. Bye-bye. Let's backspace. Let's go back to the main thing. And if you scroll down, you're gonna find helpful buttons to get you through all sorts of stuff. There's the housing options, there's room and apartment options, and if you scroll all the way down, there's some more information like cancellation policy, and just a lot of useful information. So this is like all the general stuff. This is directly from housing.ucsc, it's directly from campus housing, so this is the most up-to-date information. Just realized it's super dark in my room because the sun set slightly. Yeah, so this is where you're gonna get the most up-to-date information about housing. And then the second website is the fall 2021 housing page that is on College 9 and College 10. So you're going to go to either college9.ucsc.edu or college10.ucsc.edu. You're going to click residential life. Then click on it, and then unfortunately I couldn't get it to the drop down menu, which is a little frustrating because coding is weird. But if you then click fall housing, where is it? Oh no, is the website hiccuping? I'm gonna check this after we get off this live stream. But if we hit backspace real fast, I know it works on the College 9 one. What happened here? This is where my housing presentation is. So this is the info session that I go through a lot more detail on the process, apartment groups, etc. And if you scroll down a little bit further, we have a frequently asked questions. As you saw on the title, I updated this today. I updated it yesterday, and I also updated it last week. So I'm consistently updating this with frequently asked questions. So if we just kind of want to click on one at random, why don't we do the can I apply to more than one community? It'll take you right to where you need to go. And it has information about stuff and things. So if you have a question, these are a great place to go to. And it's great to watch the presentation because I answer a lot of questions. We're not going to do Inception with me talking while me talking.
Oh no!
Oh no! That'd be a terrible
audio experience, the video experience, the uncanny valley experience. It's a good presentation. If you all need a walkthrough and a good understanding of things, which you might, I would really advise taking a look, even after you apply, just so you get a good sense of things.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not sure, Christian. Do we have any questions in the chat? In the live stream chat?
No.
Oh well.
Oh, surprise. That's all right. Well, we've got 8 more minutes. I can ask you some more deep, dark questions about housing.
Do we want to ask deep, dark questions about housing?
That's a really great question.
Do you want to talk about more happy things about housing?
We can totally talk about more happy things about housing.
Yeah, there's like cool stuff about housing too. It's not all terror all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is So you lived on campus your whole 4 years. I did not. I never lived on campus when I was a student here. What's something that's really great about living on campus? And then I'll share something that's really great about living off campus.
It's really great when you have an 8 a.m. like right next to where you live.
Yes.
I can literally roll out of bed at like 7:45 and get to my 8 a.m. lecture if I wanted to. I didn't tend to. I was very good about eating breakfast and drinking coffee in the morning. But on those days where I really didn't want to get out of bed, I could get out and be on campus or be where I need to be on campus within half an hour max. If I had to go, I was at Crown. I had some 8 a.m.s over. I had a lot of 8 a.m.s over at Kresge. I don't know why I had so many 8 a.m.s over at Kresge, but I wouldn't have to leave until 7:30 when I know people who would have to leave their house at 7 to get to an 8 a.m.
I mean, I can attest that that was great because I slept over on your couch a number of times when I had 8 a.m. classes.
And then you complained at how warm my apartment was because you opened the door and that turned on the heater more.
Or something. And I'm just, my family's from Wisconsin. We belong in the cold. Okay, best thing about living off campus, and I think this is a hands down thing, you actually get an experience of Santa Cruz instead of just an experience of campus. Like for all your people who are like, I need to be on campus because I need that college experience, you can have it while off campus, honestly, and you get more of a Santa Cruz experience. So you get to meet like the local surfers, you get to really get to know the bartenders or the restaurant owners in the area. You get to experience like the New Year's Eve parade. You get to experience a bunch of really weird and strange things that only happen in Santa Cruz, and you are closer to my absolute favorite Chinese food restaurant, which is Yan Flower, which is right downtown. And like, I'm not saying you should buy food from them, but I'm saying if you're close, buy food for me from them and then eat it and think of me.
Fondly when you eat Chinese food. Okay, counterpoint. A quick one. What's the worst part of living on campus? And then I'll share the worst part of living off campus. I mean, I'm going to be honest, the priority housing application period, it sucks. Also, the fact I didn't have a space over summer and over winter break. Terrible. I just wanted to live in one space for a couple of years and be done. And unfortunately, that's not the reality of living on campus. For now. Worst part of living off campus, it's tied. The constant worst part is if you have an 8 a.m., you have to wake up at like 6 o'clock to get a bus or a car or a bike back onto campus because campus is like in the middle of nowhere compared to the rest of Santa Cruz. But that is tied with having to deal with landlords. If you're lucky to have a really good landlord that you can stick around with for your whole 4 years, oh, it's amazing. But if you're not, it's a lot of stress. Yeah. Well, with that in mind, it's our last 5 minutes. Before we go, let me tell you all about a bit of what's coming up in the near future. So, are you terrified about the impending doom of finals? Do you have a true supernatural level fear of so many things for valid reasons? You should come back next week, because next week our amazing student leader, Cameron, from the programming office, you've already met her a couple times, is going to be interviewing one of our recent alumni who actually lived on campus and lived in a haunted dorm room on campus. Haunted. Like there's a ghost. Did the student put in a fix-it ticket for that? Do you know? I mean, sadly not. I think when you have to deal with supernatural, there's this assumption that the housing office, what are you guys going to do? Like throw salt at them? I mean, we could also talk to our maintenance crew. We could talk to the student about the undead student, I'm assuming, the ghost, about squatting on campus and why that's bad for the community. We could just blast music at the ghost very loudly all through the summer. Like from Danny Phantom? I swear that's a scene from Danny Phantom. Okay, but
I have so many questions. Like, what if it's an emotional support ghost? What if the ghost is paying part of rent? What if the ghost is, there's a whole bunch of things. But either way, come back next week where Cameron and our recent alum are going to be talking spooky tales, scary stories, and personal experience with the supernatural at our very own College 9 and 10 campus. And, enjoy the ghost stories. Now, with that all in mind, Sarah, thank you so much in the midst of this housing chaotic week, taking like 2 hours of your time to both set up, close down, prep for this, and then actually take an hour just to answer a lot of the questions that our students have been having. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And also reach out if you have questions. We're at 9 Housing 10. That's the number 9. The word housing, the number 10 at ucsc.edu.
And a last bit of note, on Thursday, Miss Sarah Harker is going to be doing a takeover on our Instagram. So if you have more questions that we didn't answer, feel free to walk over there to our Instagram account Thursday and ask those questions. But I think that's about it.
First, see photos of my cat. There'll also be at least one photo of my cat. Alrighty. Thanks for having me, y'all.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. And now we'll just slowly fade out for our last minute while you and I talk about some random nonsense, as per usual with the Variety Hour. Okay,
what is your least favorite Pokemon?
Least favorite Pokemon?
I do not like Conklidor or Girder at all. Timber's fine, but Conklidor and Girder terrify me.
I think